She was built in Rouge, Michigan, back in 1958, known as the pride of the American side, and was back from my native state. Her christening caused a heart attack with a wave of her sliding in, kinda like Christine the movie. That's how her career would begin. November 1975, while they were heading for Detroit, there was a storm 'twas coming in, but her sheer size they would exploit. They were in Lake Superior, hauling some tonnage of iron ore, but that cruise would turn out fatal, and she would never reach the shore. 726 feet, really skinny starboard to port, but the gale winds of November would cause this son of a bitch to fall short. Lake Superior is brutal, and earns hard her reputation. White froth waves mixed with treachery, hell's not an exaggeration. When autumn turns into winter, and the nor'easter settles in, 29 sailors lost that night, a bad day for their next of kin. It can reduce wood ships to timber, and sink some of the most advanced. The wreck of the Edmund Fitzgerald Captain McSorley experienced. This disaster in such modern times, and gone in less than a minute, with no sign they knew would hit them, and no distress they would transmit. From Superior, Wisconsin, and loaded with some taconite. Over the UP, past the Thumb, go to Lake Huron and hang a right. The season was due to run out, and this was their last voyage back. They'd need repairs for next year's haul. They'd need to bang on the rack. Captain Ernest M. McSorley, a 44-year veteran. He knew what the hell she'd throw, but he was born with a dorsal fin. He'd become the master of lakes at the tender age of 19. But after November 10th, Davy Jones was the last one he'd seen. Two Harbors, Minnesota, a little bit east of Duluth. The SS Arthur M. Anderson, but only if you want the truth. Captain Cooper was Gary bound, weighed down by the same payload. Just another walk in the park until the weather would explode. After a night on Kitchikumi, and there was progress they both lost. Big Fitz would use the radio to explain the weather they crossed. It was a classic panhandle hook from Oklahoma pushing through. Winds that would build over Iowa, over Michigan, how they blew. Both captains would favor Canada, right in front of the Isle Royal, where the lake that is said never gives up her dead just sat there coming to a boil. They would sail their northeastern course, weathering as best they could. They were still in sight of each other, but Fitzgerald, it's understood, runs just a little bit faster, and Cooper would have to cut corners. He'd radio that ship ahead before the shift of wind occurs. The SS Arthur M. Anderson, wanting to keep high seas astern, past Michipicoten Island, would follow a slightly different pattern. A place Fitz had already passed, reporting they were starting to roll, and the mighty Mackinac Bridge would stop collecting their toll. With waves upward of 30 feet and visual connection lost, heading for Caribou Island with some of that snow out getting tossed. The Anderson would back right off. The Fitz would run too close to shoals. They could have scraped the bottom up, no mercy for those 29 souls. They radioed two vents were down, and was starting a starboard list. They would be taking on water, Mike clenched in McSorley's fist. Two pumps were working overtime, would slow for Captain Cooper and wait. The Sulaks were closed up ahead, a message the Coast Guard relayed. With winds up to 80 mph, the guards advised to anchor down. The largest of the 5 Great Lakes was sure shit looking to drown. It was the worst the captain ever seen, crashing taller than most buildings. Some were over 3 stories high. That song Gordon Lightfoot sings? It was a 100-year storm front, and the ship's radar was worthless. They'd inch along to Whitefish Point and hunker down over this mess. They had to follow direction and would call in every hour. They did not indicate dangers of sinking through the radio tower. There was another ship 9 miles ahead. The Anderson radioed through. Answer, well, am I gonna clear? Yes, he'll pass to the west of you. How are you handling your problem? The answer: we're holding our own. Famous last words in history, and delivered in monotone. No one knows what really happened after the Fitz broke its contact. When they vanished from radar screen, Captain Cooper was quick to react. He tried several times to raise them, but never got an answer back. They wouldn't be the first mariners that icy cold bitch would attack. The snow had stopped, no lights were on. The Edmund Fitzgerald vanished. It was business as usual. The Fitzgerald no longer exists. I'm very concerned with their welfare, Captain Cooper to the Coast Guard. They might have taken a nosedive, a report they wouldn't disregard. The search would last for several days, and Cooper was beside himself, almost capsized, turning around, placing safety on the back shelf. Walter Cronkite would make mention. The front page news was rather grim. 29 mariners aboard, all sacrificed their life and limb.